Logistics management is the management process which integrates the flow of supplies into, through and out of an organisation to achieve a level of service which ensures that the right materials are available at the right place, at the right time, of the right quality and at the right cost. It includes the functions of purchasing, materials handling and storage, production planning and control, inventory control, packaging, transport and their associated information systems. And here we have Porter's 5 forces. Forces within industry, bargaining power of suppliers, bargaining power of buyers, threat of new entrants and threat of substitute products, followed by the 6th force, which is institutional and other shareholders. So here we have some of the data that might be used by investment analysts supplying sectoral information to fund managers. IBM having a gross profit margin of 44.2% and 8.8% before tax. Cisco Systems having a gross profit margin of 69.1% and earnings before tax of 17.2%. Whereas in the motor sector, gross margin is far lower and earnings before tax for Daimler Chrysler in 1999 was 3.4%, for Volkswagen was only 1.1% and for Toyota was only 3.2%. Here are the same companies, but this time the screen is showing days of inventory, sales per employee and the stock market price to earnings ratio. So Dell Computer is a star for days of inventory at 7. It has a sales per employee of 692,192 and a price to earnings ratio of 41.8. Whereas Cisco Systems has 63 days inventory, 357,000 sales per employee and a price to earnings ratio of 159.2. Daimler Chrysler has 63 days of inventory and only 268,000 sales per employee. The price to earnings ratio of 8.4. Volkswagen has only 205,000 sales per employee and a price to earnings ratio of 21.6. And Toyota, despite being just in time, has more days of stock than General Motors does. But the price of earnings ratio of Toyota Motor Corporation is 39.7. Now, this information is collected and collated by investment analysts, otherwise known as scribblers, and they make sectoral recommendations to fund managers whose role is to, over a broad brush, global effort, have a balanced portfolio of shares and stocks. Here we see a variety of company logos, including Tesco, Boots and Sainsbury's, and things like Danone, Procter & Gamble, Yoplait and Dairy Kraft. Now, Tesco will attempt to squeeze their buying price of goods from Procter & Gamble, Danone, Yoplait and Dairy, and they will do their best to extract from the customer the maximum price they can while still being competitive with Asda, Walmart and Sainsbury's. And this comes from the concept that value added is total sales revenue minus bought-in costs. So your customer, you are his bought-in costs, and his customer, his selling price is his customer's bought-in costs. Now it depends on who has the market power in their marketplace, plus the market power over their supplier decides who within the supply chain gets to keep the cream of value added. There are difficulties in forecasting, but it tends to be model mix rather than market share. No problem, you have instant resupply, zero production time, instant delivery, and what about a lead time gap? If you have Scotty, or Doctor Who, you could organise it. But otherwise, in the real world, you have to hold stock. An important concept in terms of stock is the P to D ratio, the procurement lead time to the demand lead time. The demand lead time is the competitive lead time in the market in which your company is competing. So it might be a week, it might be a month, it might be 3 months, it might be a year, it might be 2 years. If your demand lead time in that market, your market, is smaller than the procurement lead time of the parts in your product, you'll have to stock the parts before you get the order. If your demand lead time is longer than the procurement lead time, you can afford not to stock the components and products until you have an order. That's the procurement to demand lead time. So finally, in this small intro section, we've looked at the definition of logistics management, forces, 5 forces, the role of the investor as the 6th force with the price to earnings ratio et al., value added and who gets the cream, and procurement to demand ratio, how market power determines who holds stock.